Okay. Welcome to Irreverent. I'm your host today, Levi. And before I begin, one time I said, Grandma, I don't think I'll ever fall in love with anybody. She said, Levi, you're going to fall in love when you know that girl is the one. And I met that one, and I'm doing a podcast with her now. Introduce yourself, Eli.
You're lucky that we don't record this in person.
And she spoke. So, that's the love of my life, Eli, who's going to be co hosting with me this week. Uh, and before you click off after that terrible intro, I just want you to know don't miss out on possibly the best irreverent episode ever. This is going to be the best irreverent episode ever. And we got a decent slate to talk about. Probably the three most legendary races that have ever happened in motorsports. We have the should I go alphabetically? A B C D E. Okay, Formula One race at Circuit de Catalunya, Barcelona. And next we have IndyCar, the race at Laguna Seca. And lastly, we're going to be discussing NASCAR's race at New Hampshire. We will discuss all three because this is the best podcast ever. Spoilers, the races weren't that good, so we're going to have to work with what we have and try to somehow get an hour or so of content in with these three races.
Hey,
And then, of course, we're going to have our Eli 5 guest segment. We do have a guest today, and that poor victim will be on here after we're done with probably the NAS or whatever discussion we decide to leave at the end. And we're going to end, of course, with the news segment. So we're going to do things a little differently. Usually, the host, me or Eli, will send it off to the other co-host to start talking. But we've decided mutually that Eli talks too much, so I'm going to start off this week with a discussion of NASCAR. Yeah, so we raced at New Hampshire this week, and I say we like I was part of the race. Maybe I was, but
I mean, to be fair, with the rise of pay drivers, you could be.
yeah, like I could totally be a gentleman NASCAR driver, and I would probably be a burden to the entire field trying to pass me on. I would be that lapped car that doesn't understand what the blue flag means. I'm just holding up all the traffic.
They aren't
Um,
enforced in NASCAR.
that's true. I'm just gonna be like 30 miles an hour under the average speed of the leader, and I'm gonna be like, I'm so good. I'm just so good. Anyway, well, honestly, that'd probably be more exciting than what happened this weekend. I don't want to be too down on NASCAR because the entire NASCAR community was super, super excited because this, Eli, I don't know if you knew this, but this was the first oval race ran on a wet track. They had rain tires.
I had
So
heard that they were going to
usually,
start doing that.
yeah. So for new listeners, NASCAR has literally been rumoring this since I was in high school. And well, I'm still young, but since early high school, like when I was 15 or 16, they've been rumoring this, and now I'm 20, and now we're finally getting to wet oval racing. Like they've been testing these tires. It feels like forever at like the short ovals, like New Hampshire, Phoenix, Martinsville, Richmond. It feels like we've been doing this for a while, but yeah, this was the first one, and NASCAR said it was a resounding success. Watching it, I won't really differ. I mean, there were definitely some cautions, but they weren't really because the tires were bad or it was too wet. So I guess that was definitely a success. The tires were good. Um,
I mean, 32
I,
out of 36 runners finished the race, which
you know what? That's really good. So it was just a cautionary race, but that's because a lot of guys, when you resume a race after rain and everyone in the field is trying to win and treat it like it's the last 10 laps of the race, you're going to get chaos. So I can definitely excuse several of those late race cautions of guys spinning out or getting into the wall. It's just NASCAR at its finest. And that's not a dig. It's just those guys, that's what happens when you're on oval racing. You're going to lose control because you're trying too hard. And even if you're really good at racing, sometimes you're going to overstep your boundary a bit. These are really big, heavy machines, guys. And even though I could totally be a paid driver, I wouldn't be that good. So, but yeah, Christopher Bell wins. It's his third win of the season. I am actually pretty happy because Chevrolet kind of looked like they were going to run away with the manufacturers championship this year, but flash forward 6 races and now Toyota is 1 race away from tying them this for the points lead, and Ford now has 3 wins and they're kind of getting into it. So a Toyota one, that's okay. I'll take it. Um, what else happened big during the race? Martin Truex Jr. was really good. I feel like definitely mentioning that. Like he's always still in the mix. He's fourth in the point standings. Any other notable cars? Real honestly, guys, there were really no other notable cars. Um, if I do remember right, I think Ryan Blaney was pretty quick. I think the Penske guys had some speed. No other Fords besides Penske had speed though. Specifically Ryan Blaney. Like it really was a Toyota fest. Like Mark Truex, Christopher Bell, Tyler Reddick, Denny Hamlin. Those guys just ate everybody's lunch this weekend. So um, that's kind of the race. That's kind of what was boring. It was maybe a bit of Ryan Blaney. Chevrolet took the weekend off apparently, and Toyota just dominated it. If it wasn't Christopher Bell leading, it was Martin Truex or Tyler Reddick because Tyler Reddick was leading at this race at the 2/3 mark when the rain came down and they had to stop racing. He was leading, so um, that's a Toyota dominated race. But yeah, that's kind of the overview. Lots of Toyota domination. Uh, Race paused 2/3 the way through. Caution heavy last 100 laps with rain tires. Christopher Bell wins. And one more thing of note is that Josh Berry finishes. Did he finish third? I think. Yeah, he finished third, and Chase Briscoe ran runner-up, which was big for Stuart Haas. So, anything really to say about the race, Eli?
Yeah, just going on what you said earlier, there were only 3 Chevys in the top 10.
It was as a Ford fan who lives for the 2018-2020 glory days. When you see a race like this, it kind of makes you feel yummy. It's like finally, like Chevrolet has totally taken the week off, and not just that. Like I know we talked about this. It was either on our first episode or just a couple weeks ago, but
I think it was the second.
yeah, it was about how it's like Chevrolet really is like suddenly started to lag a bit. Like I'm not worrying. If you're a Chevrolet fan, don't worry yet. Everybody has bad spouts. But going into the year, Chevrolet was like, we have so many players. We have Hendrick Motorsports, all four of them are good. We have Trackhouse, at least Ross Chastain is good. No disrespect to the 99 team, but driver one is obviously number one. And then Kyle Busch was awesome last year, so we have plenty of guys to win races, and that doesn't even include SVG or Colleague. And then we get into the year, Trackhouse for some reason is not running SVG and Cup at all, really, besides maybe one race. Trackhouse won Atlanta, but has not really had that great of speed. RCR is absolutely nowhere. Kyle Busch has no speed. He's in the worst slump of his career. Hendrick is good. 48 team is not. And now Chevrolet is kind of looking at it like, well, at this point, we really only have 3 really good players. And Chase Elliott wins like twice a year now. So you kind of just have the 5 and 24 to rely on for bulk wins. So, but yeah, it's like ever since Kyle Larson won at Kansas and Chris Buescher finished runner-up in the closest finish in NASCAR history, Chevrolet has won one race since first week of May, and we are 3 days away from July. So basically, in 2 months, in those 8 weekends, Chevrolet has won once. We're going to Nashville on the 30th, which will be a 5-race month this month. And Chevrolet is really good at Nashville. The last 3 runners were Ross Chastain, Chase Elliott, and Kyle Larson. So Chevrolet has a very good chance at rebound this weekend. But yeah, they've been lagging. We've been going to a lot of short ovals. Worldwide Technology, Iowa, New Hampshire, Sonoma. These are all braking tracks where you have to brake a lot. And Ford and Toyota have totally been better than Chevrolet because if you maybe look at the first part of the schedule, what's maybe a little concerning is it's not all that different. Martinsville, COTA, Richmond, Phoenix. We've been to some braking tracks and where Chevrolet was really good to start the season, but now Chevrolet is really lagging behind because now, to Chevrolet's disadvantage, now RFK has definitely found speed. Now Ryan Blaney and Penske have definitely found speed, and Toyota has had the 20, the 19, the 11 have speed all season. So it's kind of like now, all right, Chevrolet, now you're evenly matched. Now there's like at least 3 guys from both camps that can challenge you for wins now. Where May to start the year, it was only Denny Hamlin who was good from Toyota. And it was the 9, the 5, and the 24 who was really good for Chevrolet. So, you, you know, as a Ford fan, I'm not going to pretend like I'm not happy about it. But if you're a Chevrolet fan, I'd honestly say maybe don't worry about it. Now, I will say if we get to Nashville this upcoming weekend and Chevrolet does not win, I think it's time to maybe take the panic button and raise it 20%. Because if you're going to Nashville and you're Chevrolet, you've won all 3 events held there since we've got back. If you are on this slump and you also don't win probably your best chance to win all summer, yes, it is time to maybe be a little concerned. But going into this weekend, guys, just treat normally. But also just know if you don't win Nashville, I will be rubbing your face in it because that's a good sign that maybe Chevrolet's struggling.
I say it almost is seeming like it's less that Chevy was really dominant at the beginning of the season, and more that there were a couple of drivers who happened to be in Chevys that were dominant.
Yeah, like William Byron, Kyle Larson, Daniel Suarez happened to win Atlanta. Like Chevrolet was really getting all the cards in their place. But yeah, like Toyota has won twice. Ford has won 3 times. Well, actually, is that yeah? Christopher Bell has won twice. Ford has won 3 times, and Chevrolet has won once, and Ford won the All Star race. So if you count the All Star race, the past 7 weekends have been 4 for Ford, 2 for Toyota, and 1 for Chevrolet. So, um, I feel like this weekend, actually upcoming, might hold all the cards. Maybe a good indicator if Chevrolet doesn't win this weekend. Maybe something's going up. Maybe Chevrolet isn't good this year, and just Kyle Larson, William Byron, and maybe Chase Elliott are kind of carrying them. It may be that because you can't just rely on 3 drivers to win for your manufacturer. I say that, and Joe Gibbs Racing won in 2019 the manufacturer's title with basically 3 drivers with an Eric Jones win. So I'm not saying it's impossible. It's just it's hard to do with just 3 drivers. Usually the manufacturer wins with at least 5 to 7 winners. So, you know, not looking maybe the hottest.
You also
And
say
it
that
was
like the other 2 series we're going to be talking about today don't have a single driver carrying the entire championship.
yeah, you know what, guys, never mind. Just pretend like I didn't say anything. But guys, Eli doesn't know anything. I know everything. And I'm just saying, maybe you
To
want
be
more
fair, that's
than
fairly true about NASCAR.
okay, yeah. This is the one time I can assert dominance. Eli, I'm going to go back in history really quick. There has never been a manufacturer win a title with just one dominant driver. Even though you can maybe make the argument that typically the dominant driver each year, we can reasonably look, the dominant driver each year, their manufacturer won the title. Let's look back. 2023, William Byron, Chevrolet, won 6 times. He was the winningest driver. Chevrolet won the title. Same for 2022 with Chase Elliott, 21 with Kyle Larson. In 2020, Kevin Harvick was the winningest driver and Ford won. And 2019, Martin Truex was the winningest with Toyota and they won. So Eli, maybe you're onto something. Maybe the best driver, their manufacturer is going to be the champion.
To be fair,
So
this year, looking at the manufacturer standings, Ford is only 27 points behind with less than half of the race wins.
but look at that. When they haven't been winning, Charlotte Motor Speedway, they finished second. Kansas, they finished second. This weekend, they finished second. And when Kyle Larson won at Sonoma, they finished second. So if Ford isn't winning, they are always second. That's really, really good.
I'm going to say consistency in this case could just do it for them.
Yeah, so that's kind of my thing. I feel like the biggest thing that came out of New Hampshire for me personally was the manufacturers championship. It's like, do I want to talk about Christopher Bell really? Nah. I mean, guys, as long as Christopher Bell is with the 20 team and Adam Stevens, he's probably going to be a championship contender every year. I'm not going to discuss, hey, is it time to really seriously consider Christopher Bell? The answer to that is yes. He's going to be considered every single year unless he proves otherwise. And this year isn't any different. He should be one of your championship favorites if he wasn't already. So he went through a rough stretch, but ever since winning at Charlotte, he's been really solid. And now he's tied for the most wins this year.
A competent driver at a good team is pretty much always going to be in the mix.
Yeah, and Christopher Bell will never not be competent. And the 20 team is always going to be funded by Joe Gibbs, competent. So yeah, no, they're. I don't think there's an argument saying he's not to be taken seriously at this point. So, but yeah, that's kind of like, is Christopher Bell a championship contender? We don't have to talk about that because he is. Is Martin Truex a championship contender? We don't have to talk about that because he is. He is the fourth in the championship standings right now. He's the first one without a win who's the highest rated. So he's going to make it in the playoffs at this rate, even though I really want him to win next week because Martin Truex was great at Nashville last year. But yeah, not much to talk about. It was just a solid race. Good one by Christopher Bell, and it's kind of maybe looking like Chevrolet might be having some struggles, which I know it may annoy any Chevrolet listener, which we don't have any. We don't have any listeners, but I love to see Chevrolet struggle.
It's kind of funny that even with my limited amount of NASCAR knowledge, I do root for Chevrolet, considering that every team I root for in IndyCar is a Honda powered team.
Ironic. Well, and here's my argument to Chevrolet. I don't mind if you're a Chevrolet fan. You have every reason to be. Jimmy Johnson, Jeff Gordon, and Dale Earnhardt are three of the four best NASCAR drivers in history, and they drove for Chevrolet. Chevrolet is always going to be
just because the Camaro looks cool.
If you think this Camaro looked cool, just can I actually? You know what, Eli? Since no one's listening and we don't have much to talk about, can I go on like a quick tangent?
You're the host.
Never mind, Eli. I'm going on a quick tangent. I appreciate you like this Camaro. Do you know what's wrong with this Camaro and what's especially wrong with the 2020 and 21 Camaro?
I haven't really looked at these ones. I just mean Camaros in general, but
oh yeah, I agree. Yeah, if you look at pictures, and this is a very well hidden fact, but if you do enough digging, you'll understand the Camaro actually sucks. Guys listening, if there is anybody out there who's a Camaro fan, I'm going to say it to your face. The Camaro Cup car was one of the worst race cars in history because it was one of the highest drag automobiles ever made. And Chevrolet realized this. And so what Chevrolet did was they took the draggiest parts of the Camaro, being the very boxy front nose. What they did was they rounded the front hood sculpt. Now, I don't mean the front end. It isn't rounded. What they did was they took the hood sculpt, rounded it out at the front to make it more aerodynamic. They took the headlights, and instead of putting them deep in like they did, that made a ton of drag, they put them out, made them flat. It was almost completely flat. And they flattened every feature of the Camaro front nose. And instead of admitting they were wrong, what they did was they like, hey, it's a new Camaro. It's now the Camaro ZL1 1LE. And if you look at pictures, the Camaro ZL1 1LE isn't any different from a regular Camaro. What happened was Chevrolet realized their Camaro Cup car was horrible and was an embarrassment compared to the Mustang, which isn't good. And they literally just kind of based their car off the Ford Fusion from 2013 to 18 and rebranded it as the ZL1 1LE. And going into the next gen car, it was the perfect opportunity to dole out their features, but not have anyone say anything because everyone had new cars. So yes, the Camaro looks cool, Eli, especially when it looks like the 2018 and 19 Camaro Cup car. I will concede. I love that car. I have several diecasts, but I'm just going to quickly put it out there that the 2020-21, and I know this is an nerdy rant, but the 2020-21 Cup car is my least favorite in history because it isn't an authentic stock car. And I know that's, what's it called? A paradox, or what's the word? Irony, because there is no such thing as an authentic Cup car, but when you're trying to go off a road-based model and you completely change the car just because it sucked, that, I don't know. It's not that it just doesn't sit well with me. It makes me upset because everybody pretend like they didn't notice.
To be fair, 2020 and 2021 were kind of terrible years for motorsport in general, but simultaneously not. They were terrible years for the engineering. They were great years for the marketing.
I agree. Yeah. So when you say Camaro Cup car, guys, I'm actually going to be a happy person because I love the Camaro Cup car. I like the Camaro Cup car, the one that wasn't good because it looks the best. It just happened that Chevrolet realized, oh, our car isn't good. and the Mustang literally won as many races as the Camaro did in its 2 year lifespan in 1 year. So we need to change it, and they changed it, and it's literally a different vehicle, but they still branded it as the Camaro, just the 1LE version. So that's why I'm upset. Anyway, that was my tangent. The Camaro Cup car is inauthentic. I don't like it. But Eli, you're right. They do look good.
Glad we agree on that. Let's be real.
Oh yeah.
Motorsport is 99% about the looks.
Literally. I mean, take. All right. Well, take F. Now take Formula One. Would it be very dull if all the cars were painted black with just a hint of vinyl on all of them? It would, and nobody would want to watch because it's boring. Oh wait, they already do that.
To be fair, that's not the reason nobody's watching.
That's 100% right. But no,
It's
I
the
mean,
reason that
I mean,
nobody's buying the models, but it's not the reason nobody's watching.
that no, precisely the reason other motorsports sell diecasts is because they actually look good and aren't just carbon fiber with some vinyl on it.
I mean, hey, I've still got the what is the 160, not 164th, 116th model of the 2020 Alpine sitting on a shelf behind me.
Oh, that's right. You got the really was it the Ocon win?
It's the Gasly's win at Monza.
Oh, so you have the big one of Gasly's win, but you have the Alpine model still.
No, it's AlphaTauri. Did I say Alpine?
Yeah.
AlphaTauri.
I mean, I don't blame you for either because they both look good. So
yeah. Well, I mean, 2020 did, but that was still Renault.
yeah, totally.
It was Bumblebee Renault.
So you should totally get like a what's it called? An amalgam collection model of that win. Get the $4,000 like 1/8 scale.
I mean, this one is signed too, so.
Oh,
Yeah.
guys, he's good. Yeah. All right. Well, if you don't have anything to say about NASCAR, I'm kind of done, honestly. Besides my Camaro rant and the fact that New Hampshire was fine.
That was the most exciting race of the weekend.
This is why it's going to be the best episode ever. You're going to see me and Eli desperately try to find content.
I was going to say, we are 20 minutes in and we're already running out of topics.
Can I juice? I'm going to go up to the NASCAR cow and I'm going to see if I can milk anything out of it left. How about Stewart-Haas racing?
Let me pull up the race summary for IndyCar. We can go on to that if you want.
Okay. Guys, we don't want to talk about Stewart-Haas. Oh, wait. What? Actually, should we save this for news? Did you hear about Haas racing?
Oh, what Gene Haas is doing, that like running one car now.
Yeah. I remember
I
like
heard about it, but I didn't look into details.
Yeah. You know what? Never mind. I'm not gonna save this for news as the host because we need a topic to talk about really quick. Eli, there have been many moments in motorsport where I was one of the happiest men alive. And just knowing that there may be one car with the Haas banner on it made me very happy because it's not a Stewart-Haas car, but it still matters to me that Kevin Harvick's team is still in existence.
True, but to be fair, how good are they going to do only running one car?
Horrible, but at least they exist. Is it any different than what the last 3 years have been? 4 years?
I mean, at least they were mediocre.
I seriously hope the Cup they get a good they retain a good Cup driver. Like if Josh Berry can pilot the one Haas car that's number 4, I will be happy. That'll be fine because Josh Berry runs well at short road courses or short tracks. I mean, I do not have confidence they will be very good, to be honest. I am just glad that Tony Stewart's out of it because, to be honest, I am with you, Eli. I'm not sure how good they'll be, but I honestly believe they're going to be in a better place without Tony Stewart. because when you have a boss who's supposedly funding 50% of everything who is never there and is never giving his valuable input, they're not going to be good anyway. In fact, that's just kind of burdening the team, lowering the morale. If you can at least have a team where you know, even though Gene Haas isn't going to be there, he cares very much to have a team in Cup and will fund everything. That's nice to know.
Yeah.
So I don't think it'll be a great team. I'm just very happy that they're still going to exist. Now, I will be an unhappy person if Gene Haas decides to sponsor the car all 36 weekends and a literal white and red car that looks terrible.
You mean their F1 livery last year?
If they run their F1 livery in NASCAR, I quit. If they let a driver get his own sponsorship and actually make the car look good and give it a Stewart Haas number, I'll be happy. Anyway,
Just
do you have
so
anything else to
chaotic.
say about the Haas charter?
Mostly just that Gene Haas needs to decide what his actual relationship with motorsport is. 'Cause at this point, I'm just
I,
getting annoyed.
I honestly I was shocked by this news and like in a good way, but also just genuinely shocked because it went from hey, Stewart Haas is done for completely, nothing at all. And it just kind of turns out that Tony Stewart just didn't care, and that's kind of why it all collapsed was because Tony Stewart didn't care. And it actually turns out that Gene Haas had a bone in his body that cared, and yeah, it's just nice. It's a good relief because it really did feel too fast that when you are a four-car team in NASCAR to just decide to quit, that never happens. Like no four-car team that's been a powerhouse just should quit. That's not good. You just shouldn't.
If nothing else,
Um,
you'd think that it would be like, oh, we sell off one charter, and then a couple of years later, sell off the other. Just like slowly
yeah,
ramp it down instead of just being like, nope, we're done.
we. I mean, they had if they fielded two cars instead of four, I think everybody would have been more happy. I'm still okay with one, but like for years, like the rumor was they were going to get rid of the 10 and the 41. They were going to keep Tony Stewart's car and they were going to keep Kevin Harvick's car. And I was okay with that. I was like, okay, that's cool. They are going to keep Tony Stewart's car because obviously you got to. But when you have a legacy as strong as the four car, to have two really strong legacy cars in your club, that's awesome. Hey, Legacy Motor Club. But in a sense, yeah, I'm just happy. And I hope they retain the number. I hope they either retain number 4 or 14. I really hope 4 because if I'm Gene Haas, I'm not happy with Tony Stewart. So why would I carry the number 14 car with me? You know
Yeah, it'd be kind
the
of weird
reason
one to save.
the reason Stewart Haas is Stewart Haas. Like Tony Stewart was, of course, the first legend of that team, but there has Kevin Harvick has accounted for more than half the team's wins and the one of their two championships. It's like I think if I was Gene Haas and I'd be considering which number to bring back, I would work really hard to bring the 4 back because the 10 car is too synonymous with Danica Patrick. Even though Eric Almirola was really good, like don't bring the 10 car back. The 41 was literally just the 14 reverse to have an excuse to bring in a fourth car, which I'm not trying to make that sound bad. It's just that's what it was. They're like, we're gonna have a fourth car, so obviously let's stick with the theme and make it number 41. So there really isn't a huge legacy with the 41 either. Like the 10 to 41, that's why they're gonna get rid of them. There wasn't strong legacies there. And if I'm Gene Haas, I'm like, okay, I'm down to the 4 and the 14. I'm with you, Eli. It's like bring the 14 back would be like weird at this point. So how about we just go with the car number that brought us almost all of our success?
Yeah.
And if I was Gene Haas, I'd say let's just literally keep everything about the 4. Like, is that not the best part of Stewart Haas right now? Like, the 4 car is the best part of Stewart Haas racing, period. Right now, the best crew chief they have is Rodney Childers in the 4 team. And if I'm going to do all that, then I'm like, why not just keep Josh Berry in the 4 car?
Maybe because Josh Berry doesn't want to drive for a one car team.
Yeah, I don't know what Josh Berry wants. Honestly, what very well could happen is they bring in like an Xfinity number. Like, I very much could see them going like bringing in the 00 and Cole Custer into that one cup car. I don't see them bringing the 98 because they're going to field two Xfinity teams, and I can only assume those two Xfinity teams are going to be the 00 and the 98. But they also have plenty to work with. Like, they may even bring the 4 back, but just put Cole Custer in the car. But yeah, there's not many rumors about driver lineups or anything. I just know they're bringing that back. But I would be really happy if they just stuck with the 4 team and left them in as is.
Yeah.
But I'm a Kevin Harvick fanboy, and I just prefer normalcy. So I'm done.
Okay, you're the host, so segues are your job.
Oh yeah, guys, I'm not good at asserting dominance. Eli, stop talking about NASCAR and start talking about what you want to talk about.
All right. Let's discuss the fact that Andretti would be a great IndyCar team if they had any idea what strategy was. Oh, being a Herta fan hurts.
It hurt us.
Unfortunately, I was actually checking. I don't have a drum roll set up on the soundboard, but
It sure does hurt to be a Herta fan.
yeah, no. Supposedly, according to people who were at the race at Laguna Seca, it was a really good race. To anybody in the United States watching it on broadcast, it was ridiculously boring because they decided to follow leaders who had like a 3-second gap for laps and laps and laps on end while there was actual racing going on in the midfield, with drivers fighting up, in some cases, over 10 positions across the race. Or across descent. And some of the best overtakes that we've seen in any racing series this year happened at this race while they were on commercial break in full screen commercials. And also, if you were watching this on broadcast television, you didn't see the end of the race. They were running a bit long. The end of the race was supposed to be on USA, and then they just never switched it.
Well, I had Peacock, so I got to see all of it.
Same. But,
yay!
Like, a whole lot of people, like most of the viewer base, did not.
And if you're listening and you feel bad that you missed the end of the race, don't. It wasn't anything special.
No, the only person who was even remotely a threat was Colton Herta, who, if it weren't for 2 safety cars in the last 50, I think it was last 15 laps or last 20 laps, something like that, would have ran out of fuel and would have had to pit for fuel in like the second to last lap. The only reason he made it to the end of the race without having to refuel was because there happened to be 2 safety cars back to back. Like, he was being told to manage fuel. His engineer told him to push and push hard for like 2 laps, and like, yeah, no, you're great on fuel. And then 1 lap later, he's like, by the way, I know we just spent the last 5 laps behind a safety car, and you've been doing nothing but fuel saving that whole time, but you're gonna need to lift and coast. I think they said like 85 or feet out, or not feet, but yards out or something ridiculous. I forget what the exact number is, but yeah, like his fuel targets were crazy, ridiculously low, and he's like, "What in the world, guys? You were just telling me to push hard." And they're like, "Yeah, well, we thought you had a chance to catch up to Pillow," and it's like, what was your plan if he caught him? What's he gonna do if he overtakes him and then has literally 0 fuel left? He ended the race with like with almost twice as much push to pass as anyone else in the field that he couldn't use because he didn't have enough fuel to. And he was within a few seconds of the win.
Uh,
But in other news, this is also the first race where David Malukas was finally able to race again. And he was doing good. Up
I
until
don't
the
really.
last safety car, where he got a puncture from someone else hitting him and fell to like 23rd.
But guys, let's be real. I think the best driver of that day, Nolan Siegel.
To be fair, in the race, he was good. Everything leading up to the race, he was terrible. And he wasn't great in the race, but he was good.
You know who would have been great? Actually, I think if I had to choose one driver for that seat, I would maybe choose Teo Percher. I know they haven't considered that option yet, but I think he would be a good fit for that team.
Did you hear what McLaren's trying to pull about that?
What?
They're trying to claim that they always said that he was only a temporary driver to fill in until they found a permanent driver.
Oh, that's right. That's when Tony Kanaan had that interview we all saw in the Indy 500 talking about how, we're probably going to replace Teo pretty soon. He's kind of a stopgap, and Nolan Siegel is our guy.
Yeah, they definitely didn't have a press release saying that they had signed him for the rest of the season with an option for next year. That totally wasn't an official press release or anything.
I didn't see it.
Oh,
anyway.
God.
I'm sorry I ruined that so quick. I was the host and I had to.
No, you're 100% right. That was the next thing I had wanted to talk about was, he qualified, I think, 24th. And it's he made it up to 12th by the end of the race. But also, there were 8 DNFs. So,
Nolan Siegel looks kind of like the kid who thinks all the teachers have the hots for him, and he's a freshman in high school.
Yeah, you're kind of right.
He's wow, Mrs. Smith, you're not going to make me do this entire study packet, are you? Oh, Nolan, stop. Shebra, she totally likes me.
It's worth noting that, his teammates actually did pretty good. Right? Let me pull up where they finished.
Well, obviously they didn't, because 12th is the highest that McLaren could have gotten in that race.
Why in the world is this app completely bugging
Because
out
Nolan
right
Siegel is a generational talent.
Yeah, so Rossi was on the podium.
This all has to be fake news.
Got Rossi in third. Award in eighth. Siegel was beat by, fun fact, Felix Rosenquist, who's in a substantially worse car. It's
all this is fake news because Nolan Siegel was by far the best driver on that team.
It's just, you can say he's a paid driver. You can just say that. Zhou Guanyu's been unabashedly a pay driver for 3 years now.
No, that's not true. Nolan Siegel is a generational talent they couldn't skip on. And also, it makes sense because, Teo Porcher is kind of getting older. He's up there in years. He's, I think, 20, right? 19? Getting old. He's probably going to lose his seat soon anyway. So, replacing him with a guy 1 year younger was, I feel a smart business move, first of all. You want to make sure your team has plenty of youth to keep it going. over the years. You don't want someone old like Pourchaire kind of hogging the seat, but also you like it's not good a good look for the team. Like McLaren is all about the young talent. They want to be at the highest pinnacle of motorsport. They want to be back to where they were in the '90s. And what better way to do that than by harvesting young talent like Nolan Siegel and getting someone old like Pourchaire, kind of weighing the team down out of that seat.
Just like
And also, if you look at the credentials, like look at the credentials. Like Nolan Siegel is one probably the most accomplished driver like right now in his age bracket. And if you look at a guy like Pourchaire, like all he really has is the IndyCar experience, maybe the F2 championship. Like, I mean, anybody can win an F2 title. Everybody knows this. It's mostly a spec car. And when you're racing spec cars and you've won a title and a spec car championship, that's not really a good look because maybe winning something and not a spec car would just be better. You want to prove that you have the ability to overcome those obstacles and not just always rely on your team to do all the work for you. And when you come into a series like LMP2, where it's definitely not a spec car series, it is very much a constructors championship. And if I'm Nolan Siegel, my team wins. Like to me, that outweighs the F2 championship by like a mile. Like Nolan Siegel carried that team throughout the night. Like I think he did every stint, like from 10 to like probably the end of the race, like 10 being to the 9 to 9 of the race to the end of the race. He carried that team on his shoulders on a non-spec car and just dominated. And if I'm Tony Kanaan, I'm looking at them like, yeah, no, I want to get rid of my F2 driver who won in a spec championship, and I want to get another driver who didn't win in a spec championship and a car that's nothing like an Indy car to race my Indy car because that's for the best for the future of the team.
just it just drives me crazy, especially because Teo gave up, like he gave up his seat in Japanese Super Formula for the chance to
And that's
race in
another
IndyCar for
thing.
the rest of
That's
the year.
another reason. You just named it right there. How selfish is it of Teo to even think about running another series while he's running IndyCar?
I just read the quote Kanan had about how the thing that impressed him the most about Siegel was how composed he was after crashing in his first time out.
And you know what? Think about it. Has Teo
I
ever
didn't see
crashed?
that. I've read this interview and I did not see that long.
I I hate it that Teo is too good. Think about it. That brat has never crashed a car. I don't even know if Teo knows how to react when he crashes a car. But I want a driver like Nolan Single where he crashes enough to where he's learned how to be composed. Like that is a sign of a mature driver that I want on my team. Honestly, give me a reason why Nolan Siegel shouldn't be in that seat for Teo. Like Teo is garbage. Teo can go back to Super Formula, even though he can't. Like he should go back to Europe. Unworthy of that seat.
Ladies and gentlemen, our special guest for tonight, Tony Kanon. Sorry, I forgot to introduce him earlier.
I can't do a Tony Kanaan impression.
I mean, at least personality wise, you're doing a great job so far.
Oh, thanks. And
It just
Nolan Siegel is great, but if he makes one more mistake, I'm gonna have to replace him for the rest of the year.
I I just hope that soon we'll have an announcement about who Teo's actually going to sign for going forward.
Nobody, because he's trash.
You're right. You're right.
Every single
Stingray Rob
person.
definitely deserved a seat more. What am I saying?
You're right. You're absolutely right. Do you actually think Stingray Rob could win F2 championship? Could not win an F2 championship. Every driver on that grid would dominate F2 because everybody knows that's like five series below F1.
I mean, let's be real here. To be real here. He could probably win F2 just because everybody would be so distracted laughing at him and trying to figure out whether or not that was his real name that they wouldn't finish the race.
What happened is everybody would crash out, but he was the first one to crash out, so technically he's the highest finishing driver. Anyway, I'm very happy with Nolan Siegel's performance, and he showed me this weekend that McLaren made the right choice. McLaren's a smart company, and I'm glad they're in racing.
Every series needs its clown, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So, which one of us wants to start with the getting angry at F1?
May I start? No, I gotta start comments. Eli, I'll start. I'll start. You've been talking too much,
Talking more about
guys.
McLaren's mistakes.
I'm talking. Anyway, my dear compatriot Eli was trying to and like give me some encouragement last week. I have never been so depressed about an upcoming race as I was about Spain. I think it was the race. I think not the race. I think it was the podcast before this one and 2 weeks ago. I was talking about Spain and how depressed I was. I'm like, there's no way Max isn't going to win. You're like, probably true. He said, but we can look forward to Austria and Great Britain. McLaren has a good chance, and maybe Max might slip up. Spain isn't a said thing, and I'm like, hopefully that's the only thing getting me by. But the general consensus between two of us was Max was probably going to win.
In my
And
defense, I didn't say maybe Max will slip up. I said that there's been some stuff going on that his engine might be getting worn, so it might explode.
well, both were about as likely to happen as zero, so they both, yeah, no, it's fine. Same thing. No, neither of them was going to happen, and we both knew it.
No, but let's be honest with ourselves. The engine exploding was the more likely of the two. He spun last year and still won the race.
You see, now I'm not even looking forward to Austria because Max, even though McLaren is great at Austria, Max is also great at Austria. So
it was a 10th in sprint qualifying. Less than
wait, they're going to Austria this weekend?
Yeah.
But Max won sprint qualifying.
He did by less than a 10th from Lando. And also, Chucky there was looking good until his engine had problems in Q3.
By Chucky, do you mean Checo or Charles?
Charles. Wait, no, what universe are you in where Checo is doing good?
I don't know. I feel like Austria last year was kind of when he turned a key a bit.
Do you remember Mexico?
Mexico! Not really, actually.
It's the one where he took out, Anyway, that's a whole other conversation. Checo's, for some reason, decides, at about halfway through the season every year anymore to just throw away and ruin his entire career.
What's sad is he hasn't even won a race this year. At least last year he won twice before he decided to call it quits.
What was his...
What was his...
If this tells you about anything about how interesting Spain was, we're spending more time talking about the sprint qualifying and free practice for the race coming up.
It just... I was actually intrigued because Lando was doing so well with qualifying, won the pole. He was, kind of in the race the whole way, but Red Bull was better at strategy. And Max was really good.
Okay, let's be real. Max didn't beat Lando on strategy. Max beat Lando because Lando didn't know how to take turn one.
I wasn't going to say it. I was
Max beat
sugarcoating
Lando because Lando pulled a Lando and choked again.
I thought it was going to stop once he won, but...
So did I! I was like, come on,
I feel
man.
I feel like when drivers win their first race, they actually turn, really good. Like Chase Elliott. Once Chase Elliott won his first race, he became Chase Elliott.
I mean, look at Carlos. Wins his first race and then is, the only person to beat Red Bull in, 2 years.
I thought
he does it on
Lando
merit, not on, technicality or anything like that. It's
and I'm not going to blame Lando for being a bad driver. It's just when you win a first race, I feel like a driver of Lando's caliber generally cleans up that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So for reference, for anyone who doesn't know, um, what happened is turn one in Spain is a banked corner. So there's an outside line. Like the worst thing you can do if you're on pole is try to defend the inside line. Because you can take the middle or the outside line. Like you can close off whoever starts second to the inside, swing out, and take the outside line and carry more speed without giving them room to do the same. And so Lando just completely forgets about that, runs Max off the track, tries to claim he didn't, which I do want to talk about that because that was hilarious in the interview afterwards. I don't know if you saw it. But meanwhile, George Russell somehow gets the most amazing start in Formula One history and remembers that the outside line is a thing and just takes it and swings into the lead. Meanwhile, Lando has now dropped to third because he somehow ran Max onto the grass and Max still took the corner better than him.
I forgot about the Russell thing. How he literally said he channeled his inner Alonso.
That was genuinely. This was the best part of the race.
Guys, the start was the best part.
But yeah, no, because George was starting fifth?
Fourth.
Oh. Was it? I thought Lewis was fourth.
I want to say it was fourth to first. You want to double check?
Yeah, let me pull it up. The F1.
Because that would actually be way more. Because I think they said he started in the second row.
All I remember was this was like the first time this year that without something going wrong, Lewis outqualified him. Nope, you're right, fourth. But still, fourth to first in 600 feet.
I'll take it.
Yeah, no, like, I mean, I'm the first person to give George Russell crap, but like that was incredible. Because the thing is, if you actually look back at it, it wasn't so much his actual reaction at the start. It was just his situational awareness that got him through it.
Yeah, no. I do prefer the Alonso start because of the reaction from the crowd when he did it.
Yeah.
Because it was Spain.
But I do also want to talk about the I mentioned it, but did you see the interview after the race with Lando, Max, and Lewis?
No,
where he was asked about pushing Max onto the dirt. So Lando gets asked about that, and Lando goes, "Oh, I left him plenty of room." And both Max and Lewis instantly simultaneously laugh.
Was Lando serious about it?
Yes, Lando was 100% serious and genuine that thought he left Max enough room. And, like, technically speaking, yes. But if Max had decided to use that room, we would have seen a repeat of Spain 2016. Like, they weren't making it to turn one.
I saw this very interesting thing on IG about that incident, by the way. Can I talk about 2016, the incident again?
Sure.
I think, honestly, I feel like every podcast should always give their opinion on the most controversial motorsport takes if they're going to do motorsports, because I don't know, Eli, who do you blame in that incident? Because I saw this clip from Niki Lauda, who explained it really well. So have you ever had someone you blamed mostly for that incident?
I mean, wow, my brain just completely blanked on his name.
Black or white?
Not Lewis.
Oh, Nico?
There we go, Nico. Yeah.
Rosberg.
Yep, Nico Rosberg, the famous Monaco YouTuber. Uh,
Oh, that guy. Oh, wait, he raced in F1?
yeah. No, I do think, on the whole, it was more on Nico, but it was on the team for not actually managing them well.
That's interesting you say Nico because I have always been indifferent. I kind of was with you on Nico
I
because
don't
he.
have a strong opinion on it, but Nico is the one that pressed the wrong button.
What wrong button?
Um, he accidentally changed his engine mode, I think, to the safety car mode to save fuel,
Hmm.
which uh, reduced how fast it could accelerate.
All right, so I'm glad you know that because I saw this snippet from Nicky Lauda who said he blamed Lewis.
I've seen it too.
D- do you agree with it?
Not really, entirely because of knowing that Nico hit the wrong button.
But his point about Lewis could have taken him easy on the outside. I thought about that and I'm like, by golly, Nicky was right because was Lewis wasn't accomplishing any, even though like Nico pushed him off. Did Lewis really think Nico was going to give him the inside?
No.
And I saw that from Nicky. I'm like, dang, he's right because Nico pushed the wrong button because he said when he was talking to Lewis, Nicky went up to Lewis and blamed him for the incident. And Lewis has said like, why do you criticize me? And he said about the button. He says, did you see that red light? And Lewis is like, yeah, I saw it. He's like, why didn't you just pass him easy on the outside?
Yeah.
So, and I saw that. I'm like, that's true. Like maybe one could say Nico would have defended him either way, but Nico totally would have defended the inside more than the outside. So yeah, why don't you just pass him easy on the outside, and then even if that fails, you can lunge on the inside going into the next turn.
Yeah.
So when I read that, what?
Oh, like I'm mostly indifferent on the whole thing because like it really is just them both doing really stupid things.
Yeah, for real. No, I agree with you more, but I found that point interesting from Nicky Lauda. It's like because I kind of changed like yeah, like I guess if it would have been a smarter move to try to attack on the outside.
Yeah, it's like Lewis went for the way over aggressive move on a car that he knew couldn't do that, but also Rosberg defended way harder than he should have, knowing that he had his recharge mode on.
Yeah, no, 100%. I'm with you on both accounts.
If I remember right, the
Anyway,
stewards technically
what you say?
considered it a race. I said if I remember right, the stewards technically considered it a racing incident because there was no majority blame.
Yeah. Anyway, the race was so boring. We decided to talk about 2016 really quick.
Yeah, pretty much. Should we talk about the Charles Carlos incident?
Totally.
It's not really much to talk about there, but
And honestly, I kind of want to discuss this because when I first saw it, I wasn't gonna like openly disagree with you on Carlos, but when I first saw it, I was kind of maybe upset as number, but I kind of put majority on Charles a bit. I agree that Carlos closed the door too early, but also I don't know. It's like it's a
I
racing
mean,
incident. I'm with you. It's
yeah.
more racing incident, but I don't know. It's Charles could have taken a little more inside curb if he had to. I
Well,
just don't know.
also
It's like
Charles should have known that the door was going to close.
totally, yeah. And he kind of Charles put too much gas down in the corner to get onto the next one and kind of came up a bit into that rear tire. So
Yeah. The my biggest thing with the whole thing was because part of what happened, and it came out in interviews later, is Charles was wanting to save tires and fuel.
mhm.
Carlos, especially with it being his home race, was wanting to push. And
Yeah,
then
I get it. Yeah,
Charles decided to try and defend into, like, you can't, unless you are still side by side going out of turn one, you can't really defend. You can't really race from turn one to turn two. The
yeah,
lines just don't line up for it. But Charles tried to keep his nose in going into turn two. And, like, that was never going to work.
yeah. No, I'm with you. And I don't know how many points that took away from them, but I know they slipped up in the order a bit on the manufacturer side of things. The constructors championship, they didn't get as many points, but maybe they could have because of that.
Eh, they were kind of just anonymous this weekend. They were only ever
Yeah,
racing each other.
yeah. I saw one of the comments on the interview,
I did not expect
and
that incident. Like, I do want to point out, like, people made a way bigger deal of that incident than anyone should have.
it's because the race was boring.
Yeah, but, like, that blew up like crazy online. I'm just like, what? This is like the most nothing racing incident ever.
And now they're calling him Charles Lecrae
Yeah, yeah. It's just like, it's dumb.
and Krylos signs.
The second, I cannot wait for not Carlos, Charles and Lewis to crash into each other next year. It's gonna be
Hey man,
beautiful.
that's some really dangerous driving.
Like, we're gonna be able to do an entire episode just making fun of Twitter.
Like, like coming over the team. Like if this incident happened and like Lewis was Carlos, like beep, that was some super dangerous driving, man. Beep, you should give me the position back.
They are gonna murder each other, and their fan bases are gonna start World War III. It's gonna be hilarious.
What if Ferrari has a? You know what's going to happen? It's going to be 2007 McLaren, and somehow one of the most drunk drivers on the grid is going to win the championship next year. Because like the Ferrari car is going to be really good, and Charles and Lewis are going to murder each other all year. And from nowhere, Aston Martin's going to be good, and Fernando Alonso wins the championship.
If it repeated
In all
2007,
reality,
what driver would that be?
what do you say?
If 2007 repeated, what driver would that be that would win?
All right, let's think of Kimi Räikkönen's career. So Kimi was well. So it's McLaren Ferrari, so they're reversing roles. So it has to be a McLaren driver who wins the champion. Okay, we got to admit it's probably gonna be Oscar Piastri, simply because I feel like he fits the Kimi role more than
Personality-wise, yes, but career-wise, no.
Lando started at McLaren. Kimi started at McLaren or Sauber. No, Kimi
Sauber.
Sauber.
It's more just the being able to be competitive, but never quite having the right machinery for it to work over a season.
Lando Norris.
Yeah.
But I could, yeah.
Being
So
up
what's gonna
there
happen?
the entirety of his career, but just not quite having it.
And yeah, no, totally. That sounds like what happened. No, it's going to be 2007, but McLaren and Ferrari trade roles, and the one who always never quite had the machinery is going to top both of them because they just murdered each other all year.
Yep. Let's be real. What's actually going to happen is Piastri's going to have picked up his form. McLaren's going to be competitive. They're going to be switching off who does well each race. Ferrari's going to have a civil war. Checo's going to be 20th, and Max is going to win in Coda, but who knows where Red Bull's going to end up in the constructors.
Yeah, like when you have a year where Adrian Newey is leaving, and there's been so much manufactured drama, they're going to be worse than this year simply because everybody apparently wanted them to be worse next year. So it stinks about that. But now I think Ferrari and McLaren will be the front runners next year.
Like, I'm fully expecting next year Max to run away with the driver championship, but then Ferrari or McLaren to take the constructors. And I honestly wouldn't even be surprised if Max runs away at the Drivers' Championship and Red Bull somehow ends up third.
Yeah, that might very well happen.
If Checo keeps his current form, that's what will happen.
Oh boy.
Where
Yeah.
Checo finished like 8th or ninth.
In this race,
Yeah.
it was eighth. I know that because Christian Horner was talking about how good of a finish it was. Says this is what we want to see from Checo.
Yep.
And what's sad is the reason they said was because he's had 2 DNFs the last 4 races.
He was only a couple of seconds ahead of the. That's something that we should talk about. Why is Alpine suddenly decent? Where did this come from?
Because they're 50% less French at the end of the year.
like they're suddenly actually mildly competent and like consistently fighting for, admittedly, the bottom end of the points, but like the past couple of races they've been fighting for like P9 and P10 consistently. It's like, what, you were the worst car at the start of the year. What the heck did you do?
Switch power units.
Like they've barely brought any upgrades. The only thing they've done is like slightly lighten the car.
I tell you what it really did was taking all that paint off.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, like the only thing they've done since the start of the season to that car is like slightly like, made it slightly lighter, and suddenly they're, a midfield team again, and it's just like, what the heck?
I don't know.
But that's pretty much everything I have to say about F1 this weekend.
Yeah. It was fine. It's what happened was what we thought was going to happen.
It was like the definition of a 6 out of 10 race.
I'm gonna fill some space really quick to finalize things. But do you want to get our guest ready?
I sent her the invitation.
Oh, let me tell her. Actually, I'm the host. I should text her that we're ready. Anyway,
I mean, you're the one who organizes the guests anyway. I really need to get you set up to be able to send the invitations.
But overall, IndyCar, NASCAR, F1. All I really have to say is I'm really excited to do MotoGP and Formula E next week.
I was gonna say, it's a bad weekend when the standout race was a 7 out of 10.
If that. The weekend was so bad that I was literally just playing MotoGP to start the podcast, and we had to restart.
Meanwhile, next week we're covering like 7 races.
So is IndyCar going to Mid-Ohio next week? No.
No, Mid-Ohio's the week after next. Just for some reason, drivers and teams were talking about Iowa like they were going there this weekend, and it's like, what in the world are you? Yeah.
So, but I am seriously I am so excited to cover MotoGP next week. I am, because I haven't looked at practices, but the championship is really good this year between Jorge Martin and Francesco Bagnaia. Like, it's really tight, and I can't wait to see what happens at Assen. And I totally forgot about how much I enjoyed the 2015 Assen race.
Yeah,
I love MotoGP, but yeah, that's kind of, I guess we're already going to the preview next week. But yeah, well, is it okay if I mostly cover the MotoGP next week?
I mean, I've literally never followed MotoGP, so
okay, and I've literally never followed. Yeah, and I've literally never followed FE. So yeah, Eli will be FE. I'll be MotoGP. Well, it'll be a little different, but basically those will be our 2 feature races, and then on top of that, we have NASCAR at Nashville, which we're gonna have to at least, of course, put in news. We have F1 at Austria, right?
Yep, and it's a sprint weekend.
So we have two of F1 races, a NASCAR race on top of our two FEs and a MotoGP. And what's the other series we're going to cover?
I think I was
That's
still counting an IndyCar race in there.
oh, okay.
It's two FE. Um, yeah, two FE, two IndyCar. Not two Indy, two Formula One, Assen, NASCAR.
Yeah. And I feel like just because I feel like, all 5 episodes we've done have centered around NASCAR, IndyCar, F1. We're totally wanting to diversify a bit. Get we're supposed to be the motorsports oh, and I guess WEC. Yeah, totally WEC. We've covered basically 4 motorsports. Like I feel like NASCAR has gotten its weekend, so has WEC and F1 IndyCar. But it's time for, other big ones. I mean, MotoGP, it definitely needs its weekend, and this will be it, and so will FE. So it's kind of nice. We'll diversify, and hopefully in the future we'll definitely get to WRC, Trans Am Racing, a few other lesser known ones, maybe sprint cars. But yeah, I feel like MotoGP and FE are the two last biggest ones we definitely have to give a weekend to because, I mean, these are two. I mean, it's MotoGP's biggest race, and F. And what is this the penultimate weekend of FE?
Yep.
So yeah, totally. We gotta give this weekend to those series and or next weekend to those series, and I'm just super excited to unleash my inner motorcycle love and talk about how much I miss the Kawasaki racing team and how big of a Rossi fan I am and why Rossi is better than Marquez and why Repsol Honda is just a good team overall and also if you're listening this far, which why would you be? I also need to talk about my Casey Stoner experience and why that gave me severe sleeping issues last year. Do some
I feel like
research on
there's
Casey
this.
Stoner this week, Eli, because I have to talk about my horrifying Casey Stoner experience.
Wait, was that the person that had like the terrible accident last year?
No, Casey Stoner is the one who had to retire early because of chronic fatigue.
Oh, I mean
We'll
that
get
still
into that.
sucks, but I just distinctly remember somebody having to like drop out because of like major physical trauma.
Um, I don't want to be that guy, but that kind of happens every year.
Yeah,
There's at least
but
one guy.
like I remember this being somebody who people, knew.
Oh, because I know Mark Marquez had a finger. I think it was a really bad left side injury from the Spanish Grand Prix in 2020, and he had to drop out, which is why he didn't win the championship that year. And in 2021, Alex Rins broke his leg. And we're not going to pretend like MotoGP is a safe sport. I feel like we pretend a lot that Formula One is safe and NASCAR is safe and IndyCar is safe.
I mean, they
It's all
pretty much are.
100% comparatively. But when we are comparing those sports, we're mostly talking about MotoGP.
Yeah. It's like, meanwhile, MotoGP actively has people getting horrifically
Getting
injured and or killed regularly.
every season, every season at least once a season. I love. It's hard. I love motorcycle racing. I really do. Jamie says, "Oh, spoilers! Our guest name is Jamie." She says, "I waved in the link Eli sent me." She
Oh, there.
waved.
Didn't give an brain. Didn't work. There. Where in the world is... It is not letting me... but
I'll fill some time really quick, guys. Eli, I'm going to talk about this really quick to fill space. So tell me when you're done, okay?
I
Okay.
just sent her an invite to the room.
Okay. Well, I'll have a few minutes to talk. If you guys are dying to hear about my Casey Stoner experience, honestly, it's not as spectacular as hyping it up. Guys, basically, I've always been a bit of a hypochondriac, and It just so happened that at around the time I was getting into MotoGP, I was having a lot of anxiety issues. And it just so happened when I was having those anxiety issues, I got a staph infection. And I was really tired for a couple of months trying to recuperate. And so when I was getting into MotoGP and learning about how good Casey Stoner was, I was like, everybody, why did he retire at 27? And mind you, I am in probably the most tiredest time of my life, hoping that I'm going to be okay and this will end eventually. So I'm on the couch, feeling dead, reading about Casey Stoner, and oh, chronic fatigue is a thing, which I have known.
I was
But I
gonna
started to
say,
learn about chronic. What?
is this the first time you started to research chronic fatigue?
This is yes, this is the first time researching chronic fatigue, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I literally live with this every day. And what's horrifying is Casey Stoner. Some days he would discuss that his
Hey,
extra. Ah,
There's our
our
guest.
special guest.
I have
All right,
arrived.
all right. So I'm the host. Now it's time to introduce Eli Five. Guys, I'm done talking about my severe hypochondria, anxiety issues. Now it's time to talk about our guest segment. Welcome to the Eli 5 segment. So, as always, if this is the first time you're listening, the Eli 5 segment is our guest segment where we try to get our friends on to be a victim of Eli Weavers. And Eli 5 stands for Explain Like I'm 5. So we have a poor victim guest who has a question about motorsports because these people have no idea what motorsports, a lot of things in motorsports are. And it's Eli's job to mansplain to them their question in 5 minutes or less. And what happens if he doesn't explain it in 5 minutes or less? He gets kicked off the show and replaced by someone we don't know who will be my host next week. So, Eli, you're risking it all. Basically nothing
I,
because no one else wants to talk about motorsports with me. But
I was gonna say,
before we begin,
I feel like the risk here is that I don't have to do prep work or technical support.
that's the only risk. Literally the only risk. But before we begin our timer and Jamie asks her a question, Jamie, tell us a bit about yourself. Thanks for coming on.
Oh, hey, my pleasure, guys. Thanks for having me. My name's Jamie. I am Levi's sister-in-law, and I like to roller skate. And I
Oh,
like listening to Eli explain things. It's one of my favorite things ever, and Eli knows that as well.
This is
oh
the first
yes, you're
guest that
gonna.
Levi's actually given a chance to introduce themselves.
No, you lie, you piece of garbage. I did that with Isaac, and to be fair, he was like one of our only two guests. You know what? No,
Keeping it in
everyone.
the family.
Yeah, totally. Guys,
To be
listeners,
fair,
if
you
you
didn't
listen
let
this
him
far,
introduce himself. You let him introduce Bobby Roberts.
oh, okay. No, guys, never mind. Eli's right. I dropped the ball there. So Bobby Roberts, Jamie is just podcast Isaac's Elias. That's his alter ego name.
Oh boy,
Uh-huh.
there's
But
a
we're
name
about to
to
look.
this.
Yeah. But now we're about to find Jamie's alter ego with podcast Jamie. So
Mm.
podcast Jamie, thanks for introducing yourself. We're excited to have you. So we're about to start the timer, but before we begin, what's your question about motorsports?
Ooh, my question is this is towards Eli. So Eli, if for instance they're driving the motor car around the track and there's no air conditioning in there, what would one do to fix that blocked vent?
Go.
So this is actually interesting because depending on the series, changes how they cool the drivers. You've got
Okay, you
races
gotta
like
do all 8 series. All 8 series.
5 minutes, go.
I was gonna say you've got like Formula One where it's just a fully open cockpit and your face is exposed to the wind, so you crack your helmet a little bit. You pop your visor up a little bit, you get airflow, and hope you don't get heat stroke and start throwing up in your helmet like Sargent did last year.
Yikes.
Yeah, that happened. Then you've got IndyCar where they have an aero screen, so you don't have the direct airflow. So they instead have little vents underneath of the aero screen that connect to a tube that goes up into the helmet to blow the air through them. And if that ever gets anything caught in it, when they go in for a pit stop, since they've got to be in there for a while for fuel and tires and all that, they make sure to check those vents, make sure they're clear, tear off covers on the windscreen. NASCAR, they just suffer.
Oh gosh.
I forget what the temps are, but Yeah, no, NASCAR just suffers. They don't have air conditioning. You're just in a hot box. I believe WEC actually has air conditioning as a requirement now, but I might be misremembering.
So what happens? How would you fix it if it was not working properly? Just suffer? Or do you just pull over
So,
to the cockpit and just be like, fix this, hurry, go?
yeah, so for WEC is the World Endurance Championship. So their races are multi-hours long, which regularly include extended pit stops to fix parts failures, including for cooling systems. So a lot of times what actually goes wrong with like air conditioning for things like that is something will go wrong with their radiators in general.
Hmm.
So they have to stop to get those fixed, which also usually fixes the problem with the air conditioning.
Interesting. Hmm.
Yep.
Okay. That answers my question.
There we go. That's the fastest one
That
yet.
was that was just a little under 2.5 minutes. Can I
Wow.
and I know this is Eli's segment, but I gotta mansplain NASCAR's cooling system.
I was gonna
I'm
say,
sorry.
I forget what the exact thing is with NASCAR. I just remember that like it doesn't do much.
Yeah, no, you're right. NASCAR has only ever used NACA ducts. So if you ever had a toy diecast car when you were a kid, if you looked at the windows and they had those indents on them,
Mm-hmm.
those would rush cool air to the driver. Now these guys are wearing fire suits, so it doesn't do much, like Eli said, but it's something. Also, usually air is directed through the driver's hand through the window net, which is open, so that kind of helps too. Um, and now with the next gen car, what they're allowed to do is they have a slit in the windshield, which puts more cold pressurized air on the driver. So the driver's getting lots of air poured on them, and they're also, of course, allowed to have their cold drink with them. And last but not least, there's this cool thing. Now, you probably know what I'm talking about, Eli. Do you know what a cool shirt is?
Yeah.
So what some drivers can do is there is a cool box in a stock car. What happens
Wait.
is there's always dual NECA ducts on either side of the rear B post,
Do they
and
wear those while
those.
racing?
So yeah. So it rushes cool air into the stock car into a cold air box. That cold air box rushes into their helmet. But what some teams can do is direct the airflow into the shirt with tubes in it, which cools the entire body down.
Hmm.
So yeah, Eli's mostly right. They sit there and suffer, but some teams can get creative with it.
Have they had people like pass out from heat? Like, is that a thing?
Yes.
Oh,
If you look
gosh.
now, these drivers are fit, of course. They can usually handle the 120-degree temperatures inside the car.
Hmm.
But you've had some drivers like I feel like the last race that was super hot was the 2019 Charlotte Roval race, where you had Clint Boyer just gets out of the car, has to lean against the car, is just immensely dehydrated. Or you have a car like Tony Stewart. When Tony Stewart ran the Indy 500 and the Coca-Cola 600 in 2001, yeah, 2001, he was so dehydrated from both races that he had to go to the hospital.
Wow.
Didn't they
So
used to
yeah,
have a problem where they didn't, if I'm remembering right, they didn't insulate the exhaust as it ran underneath of the driver?
yes. So there
Oh.
you go, Jamie. I know I kind of went over our Eli 5 a lot of time, but that's my nerd segment on yeah,
Hmm.
NASCAR. And you can imagine MotoGP has never had a single issue with cooling.
Yeah. Very interesting, boys. Thank you for answering my question. I'll have to
Hey,
have some more questions another time. You can cycle back through. I have other
yeah,
questions that are popping in my head, but I don't want to like just lit out all of them all at once.
To be fair, last time Isaac accidentally asked the question that was the entire concept of the next episode.
yeah,
Good old Isaac.
yep. Uh, but we want to thank Jamie for hopping on, and we'll totally cycle through her again at some point because only 5 people want to be a guest on the show. So you're going to be here
Aw.
soon, Jamie.
Hey, I love it. I'm here for it, boys. I'm all here for it. I'm all for
I mean,
it.
hey, I've got some
Yay!
people I can put
Anytime.
pressure on.
Just think of this, Jamie. You are famous to 20 followers on Instagram now. How does that feel?
Whoa, I feel really special to have my voice out there for the people of Irreverent.
And that was Irreverent Podcast, and that was our Eli 5 segment. Thank you so much for coming on, Jamie, and thank you, Eli, for mansplaining in 2.5 minutes.
My pleasure, boys. Take care.
See ya.
Bye. Alrighty.
Do we
Well,
have anything?
oh,
Yeah, we've got an actual news segment, though.
Yeah, we barely have a new segment. Yeah, so thanks again, Jamie, for listening. Thanks for coming on. If you want to be a guest on Eli 5, too bad. I usually only invite my family.
Do you have Gavin's phone number?
Friends. Yeah, I have Gavin's phone number.
I was going to say, I should make you try to pressure him into it instead of me.
Oh, 100%.
Because I want to know how that conversation would go.
I'll do it.
Anyway, news.
Inside joke. News segment. Should we start with I got a little NASCAR news?
I mean, I don't know how much we want to complain about the Stroll news, but the only bits of news I have is like 2 F1 driver contracts, and they're not even interesting.
Okay, well, you want me to start with the Chase Briscoe news?
Sure, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I'm literally just getting blasted with an Amber Alert on my phone. Oh look, he's 5'7". That could be me.
Now you suddenly realize that you're in the back of a white panel van.
Oh wait, I'm podcasting, but yeah, like I thought this surface was a little uneven, but it turns out we're just on a road. But yeah, so if you were following NASCAR at all this week, you know, unfortunately, Christopher Bell slipped up and said a guy named Chase was going to be piloting Martin Truex Jr.'s vacant seat next year. And I was kind of hoping it would be Chase Elliott just to mix things up. We all kind of knew it'd probably be Chase Briscoe. And that's right, Chase Briscoe will be the driver of the 19 next year. I don't know what sponsorship he's bringing.
Oh god, there's another piece of news that I did completely forget about that's completely unhinged. Sorry, go on.
Oh, okay. But that's kind of it. It's just Chase is going to be the driver. We don't know what sponsorship he'll bring with him. We just know I think it's a good move for Chase, and I think Chase will be good in the seat. I think he'll be good in the seat. It is going to be awkward to have a historic Ford driver be in a Toyota seat next year. But, you know, changes happen, and change need to happen because of Stewart-Haas Racing. So there you go. Yeah, you can go on, Eli.
Okay, so, I mean, there are 2 pieces of news that I'd completely forgotten about that. One of them... let's start from least interesting to most interesting. Least interesting, Lance Stroll was shockingly signed for another year at Aston Martin. I know, hold your gasps. Pierre Gasly signed a multi-year contract with Alpine. So,
hey, he's French.
Yeah, he's French. He's doing good. Alpine's actually looking like they might get on the rise. Who knows what's going to happen in 2026. But last week, like 4 hours after we finished the episode, it was officially announced that Alpine brought Fabio Briatore back.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh.
I forgot that technically it was so close to last week's episode that I forgot that we didn't talk about it then.
I'm glad we got this.
Yeah.
So I actually could use a little mansplaining. Now, when I think Fabio Briatore, I think about for some reason that sounds similar to the Renault guy in Crashgate. Has Fabio already been with Alpine Renault?
Yeah, it shouldn't sound similar. It should sound the same.
Oh, Fabio is Crashgate guy?
Yes.
Okay, now I get it.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, was that one of the team principals from like the 2010s or something? No, this is Crashgate Fabio.
Yep. This is guy who got a lifetime ban that he took to the French Supreme Court and got overturned. Flavio Briatore. The funniest thing about it is that he was brought in as, like, let's see what the official news is. An executive advisor. This man started his career off, mind you, in motorsports, as a clothing marketing guy. He has no engineering experience. His entire racing experience and racing knowledge came from him running Formula One teams and nothing else. And he is somehow one of the most legendary team principals in F1.
What's going to happen next year at the Singapore Grand Prix is Pierre Gasly's going to spin, and somehow that results in Carlos Sainz getting his first world championship.
Yeah, but yeah, no, they brought him back as an executive advisor, which, technically speaking, that team's best years were under his leadership.
Hey, put Fernando in that. Wait, they can't put Fernando in that second seat, can they?
If I remember right, Briatore is still Fernando's manager.
I was gonna say, did Fernando already sign with Aston for another year or two?
I believe his contract ends next year.
That would be the most epic thing ever if Fernando goes back to Alpine.
But yeah, no.
Because Alpine already has the young future of the team in Gasly. I mean, put Fernando in there. That'd be amazing.
And to be fair, all of the people that Fernando didn't get along with have quit. Mostly because everybody has quit or been fired, but you know.
I mean, back at home with Flavio Briatore, I forget his name, dang it. Crashgate guy. Now, how epic would it be if next year they sign Nelson Piquet Jr. to that second seat?
Here's the thing that's wild about Briatore, right? Again,
right.
This guy is, like, his experience previous to F1 was working, like, as, like, a marketing advisor for a fashion brand. And, like, all of his experience was in clothing up until, like, his 40s. Like, his 30s, his 40s. And then he suggests to his boss to buy a failing F1 team as a marketing gimmick. That team was Benetton.
A complete flop in F1, obviously.
This is this is the man who is responsible for Michael Schumacher's first championship.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah. One of the
We'll take 'em.
biggest characters at F1 history is back.
We'll take him.
Yeah, no. If nothing else... Actually, that makes me... Thinking about it. Oh, God. We're going to have races with him, Horner, and Toto together.
Oh, my gosh.
Next year's going to be incredible. There will be blood. And not just by the Ferraris.
I was about to say, if Ferrari wasn't bad enough, now we have a team principal war, too.
The funniest thing is he's not even team principal. Let's be real. They have, like, one of their executives running the team right now. Briatore's going to end up being the team principal in 2 years. Or finding the new one. That's
yeah, for real.
If I had to guess, that's actually why they brought him in. Is to, like, help them get sorted out with a new team principal.
Yeah.
The other piece of news that was the bigger one that I forgot, and is the most ridiculous of all of this news, is Danica Patrick did an 1.5 hour long podcast on lizard people conspiracy theories.
lizard people?
Yes. And it's near completely serious.
So Danica Patrick watched The Amazing Spider-Man from 2012 and was like, oh my gosh,
Like,
this could actually happen.
like shape-shifting lizard people controlling the world.
I have honestly nothing else to say besides,
Yeah, no, there's really nowhere else for us to go from there.
why did you even bring that up into my corrupted brain already?
Because, like, I have to live with this knowledge, so does everybody else.
Oh my god. Is he worth talking about, like, what?
No, there's no more
What?
discussion. This is the end of the episode. We're done. We can't top this.
Alright, guys, for another week, this has been Irreverent, your home for motorsports podcast, and we'll see you next week.
Tune in for like 5 hours of 12 different races.
It'll be fun.
Bye.
Levi out.